When I was in college, I was in St. Louis, Missouri, and on hard days emotionally, I would take myself just across the street to the St. Louis Zoo, where they had an aviary, and this was an aviary that you walked through. You know the kind I mean, and they have little chains, and you walk through, and there the birds would be in the trees or on the ground, and sometimes they'd be perching right on the railing, and they'd look at you as some interloper. What are you doing in my room? And yet there was something fabulous in their presence. Amazing. They can fly, they can sing, and they have all these colors. And I would always feel a little bit lighter for having been in the presence of these creatures. At the early service this morning, I asked how many of them, child or grown up, remembered a time when they were young when your teacher would have you bring in pine cones. And then you would either take suet, a fancy name for fat, or peanut butter in our more correct days, and we'd smear it on the pine cones. You remember that? And then you roll it in the bird seed, and then you'd attach a string to it, and you'd go out into the schoolyard, or you would take it home. And in a cold day with your mittens, you'd walk outside and you hang it usually on a pine tree so it would look more authentic that way. And besides, the pine tree still had a bough or two on it. And then you would look out the window of your classroom or of your living room, and sure enough, before you know it, a bird would come along, and they'd perch, and they'd poke at it, and the seeds would fall out, and you'd feel really good that you'd done something for the birds in the winter, the cardinals and the blue jays, those wonderful birds that hang around because I guess they're more foolish than the other birds and don't know to go south. But it was good to think we were doing a good deed. Now I want you to go back to that question I asked a few moments ago. Where does hope come from? And I don't know. I don't know where hope comes from, but I do know it has to come to you, that you don't have it. It's something that has to come and perch in your soul. This I'm quite sure of. It is not something you can go and get. It is not something that you have and can hold on to. It's something we have to invite into our lives. That's the thing I want you to have. In the winter of the AIDS epidemic down there in Austin, Texas, some of us held out our arms like a tree bough and hoped hope would land on it. I want to tell you about Woody Haywood McGriff. I can give you his whole name because he was the professor of dance at the University of Texas at Austin. He was about 6'6". He was rail thin. He was beautiful. He was as black as night and as quiet as summer. And I saw him dance at Romeo and Juliet, the Prokofiev, and he played not Romeo, he played Friar Lawrence, who had to bless both. And I can't do it the way he did because he was beautiful. But he, in that moment, has to hold out both of his arms to bless Romeo and Juliet, and his arms were long and beautiful, and he held them out, and it was a benediction to the very last row in the auditorium. He did it so beautifully. He was a member of my church, and he had AIDS. And a few months later, not even a year, less than a season, I'm in his hospital room, and there are all those beautiful bones and his beautiful body now thinner and crepey and sick. And he lay in the bed, and he was surrounded by friends, beautiful friends, and the room was dark, and they were all touching him in all the right places. And he saw me through those eyes that the dying have, that pierce past the glow and the dark, and they see a different face. And he said, "Fred, I'm glad you're here." And people made room for me next to him, and I sat there on the edge of the bed, and those same hands that blessed us at Romeo and Juliet came out and perched on my hand. I was there to give him strength. I don't know why he was dying. He knew it. Everyone in the room knew he was dying. He was dying within hours. And yet there he was, giving me the strength, because he put his hand on my arm like a bird perches on a branch. And I felt his life present on me, the little bit of life that he had, giving it away to everyone in the room, because what could he do with it? He had no life of his own to give, to keep. He had to give it away. And so as he blessed Romeo and Juliet, he perched upon my arm, and I was there to give him strength, but no, the strength flowed from him to me. That's where hope comes from. When someone comes and gives it to you by perching upon your arm or in your heart or next to you, someone who has a gift that you don't even know you need, someone who has something to offer and they don't even know they have it to offer, when they come present into your lives like the stars that fall down out of the sky and give you light, the light of life, the light of death, the light of hope comes through them and they perch in your soul. They do, and every one of us in this room, every one of us in this room is a star that can give light to someone who is lost, a bird that can light on a branch for someone who needs the perching of a soul. We don't have to be dying, because guess what? All of us are anyway. So why are we not giving our lives away anyhow? They who give it bequeath it to us in some way that perches in the bare branches of our hopeless souls. You know, last week I talked of faith, and this week I'm supposed to talk about hope, and they are connected. Because it seems, as you know, faith, as they say, is the substance of things hoped for. You know, they're connected, at least in the Bible. I never understood that phrase, by the way. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. But we know from experience, from the way hope comes and perches in our souls, that if we did not hold out a branch, if we did not have a greasy pine cone to put on the tree, if we did not wait patiently at the edge of the cage, that the hope would never come. And that act of offering the greasy pine cone, of waiting by the cage, of letting the man with the crepey dying hand put his hand on your arm, that is faith. Because it may not happen. You will extend your arm and something may not light. There may not be a bird that perches there today. Or you can put the pine cone on the tree and who knows, the squirrels will come and rob it and you'll be angry. We have to extend ourselves to the possibility of hope before hope will come. It will not come and save us. We have to make room for it, knowing it may not arrive. But if we don't make a space on the boughs of our trees, if we don't hold our arms out for the bird to step on top, it will never come. If we did not believe there was something worth hoping for, there will truly be nothing worth hoping for. And so in this season, when I feel moments of despair about my nation, about the species, and about the planet, the spiritual challenge is not, can you be merry? That's easy. That's the sunlight. Can you be hoping for hope? Can you stand in the nighttime? Can you be bare-bowed and hopeless? I know that's a great gift. A gift that I hope you will receive in your life. And if you've received it today, thank Woody McGriff, who perched in my soul and gave me hope long ago. Amen.